You say in the book, I think it's after an incident involving a child, it might have been a car crash, you'd become emotionally immune to trauma.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'd sometimes go to 3 or 4 trauma jobs a day or in a shift. And if you were going to get hijacked by emotion, then you wouldn't be able to turn up the next day.
But if you haven't got emotion, you're not human.
Oh, you learn to suppress it. I think you learn to ignore it, keep it under and store it somewhere.
Again, you use the example, I can't remember the case, you come back from a particularly traumatic job, I think involving a child, and just get out of the helicopter and you say you don't give it another thought, just go and have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, have a cup of coffee or grab a takeaway pizza.
No debrief?
No debrief. Refuel the helicopter and stock the equipment for the next job.
You don't even sit down with your mates and say, geez, that was tough?
No.
Is that a sign of weakness?
Look, I would think if you mentioned the words tough or I'm having trouble, that would be a sign of weakness. Particularly
even
back
now,
then.
Even now.
I'm not sure it happens now. I hope it doesn't. I hope that the police force has got better than that. But we're talking about 90s where coppers had to be tough. No one wanted to see a copper cowering around the corner or talking about how a job's really affected them and they can't go to work anymore.
What job affected you the most?
Probably the Bass Strait job, the rescue of Ron Palmer. That affected me the most in a different way.
This is a thread through the book. You keep coming back to the Bass Strait job and wrapped around it is awful trauma. But Bass Strait, your life was very much in danger, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it came to the time when I was underwater and didn't think that I was going to be able to get another breath of fresh air.
Well, take us through what happened. You've gone down to try and get him off. He's gone down into the boat to try and release some corks from the bottom or whatever to sink it because in a shipping lane. You're standing there waiting for him. What happens then? You're on a winch in the middle of Bass Strait on the top of a boat.
You're attached to a helicopter and the helicopter's getting buffeted by winds.
And running short of fuel.
Yeah. So a big wave come one way and the helicopter went the other way. The cable went tight and I got catapulted off the boat into the side of a wave.
What happened then?
I was underwater and there's a bulk of equipment that you're carrying and I started sinking a bit and I had no idea which way was up. So I'd actually got winded when I hit the water, so I had no air in my lungs. So I thought for that split second that the next breath was going to be full of seawater. And that's when you get hit by this fear that you think, oh no, this is it. And just as that happened, I got winched out of the water and we tried again. But that small experience of fear was enough to put this doubt in my mind that I'd failed somehow and failed all the other observers before me and I'm not as tough as what I thought.
You'd failed because you'd nearly died and that was traumatic. That's not logical.
No, it's not. And that's when you start to work out that something's wrong.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't for a long time.
How long after? And we should point out you've rescued the man. You even got an award for it, which didn't impress you overly.
Yep.
When did it start to bite you? How long after that? Because you went back to work and you did awful things and dangerous things again.
Look, it would have been about 10 years before it hit me. I'd flown to Christmas Island on a really rough flight, and I start to panic on that flight, which is not usual. And after that, I couldn't think of anything else but that Ron Palmer rescue, and it kept me up for weeks and weeks. And then everything else started to creep in.
What else?
I started thinking and having memories of a truck accident in 1994.
What happened there?
The poor gentleman, the truck driver, ran into a car that had no headlights on the freeway at Bacchus Marsh, and he was trapped inside the cabin for a good hour or so, and we were in the back of the cabin, myself and the paramedic, keeping him occupied while they try and get a heavy haulage to get him out. But unfortunately, he just drowned in his own vomit. We couldn't save him.
And you were talking to him through that period?
We were talking to him on and off, yeah. We took turns. And it was the case that there was nothing wrong with this poor guy. Absolutely nothing. He said he had sore legs, but he was upside down, so we figured that it was blood flow. And it was just a matter of waiting for that heavy haulage. So we're sitting there watching the clock tick by, and eventually he just died, and we found out he drowned in his own vomit.
And that came back?
That came back.
Because one of the things in that, he'd made a 000 call and you actually heard the tape of it.
I heard that a couple
which
of years
has got
ago.
you talking to him.
Yeah, you could hear everything. And you can hear him drowning.
That still exists.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
listened to it.
Yeah, it was after the coroner's court hearing. The paramedics brought it over and we had to listen.
How'd you feel?
At the time, probably nothing, because back then I was still immune to emotion anyway, so it was just part of the job, and it was, you can hear him drowning, and that's about it. We moved on.